I'm Elliot Reeder here, being joined by Mississippi College men's soccer head coach Kevin Johns. And Kevin, y'all had big weekend this past weekend, two big wins. Y'all knocked off nationally ranked Lee on Friday and then picked up a win over Shorter on Sunday. Can you just walk me through this past weekend and especially Friday and what that win meant for the squad?
Just getting us back on the right track. I mean, we have enough talent. We know we do. We just have to kind of take it every kind of game by game situation. We knew going into Lee, we probably had to tinker a little bit of kind of what we wanted to do formation-wise and some other stuff to kind of combat what they do so well because they're a very talented team. Coming off of two home losses, the games that probably could have gone either way. That's what the conference is kind of built on, is tough games every game. We know going into Lee, we just had to prepare just to worry about Lee. We didn't really consider Shorter because we knew the Lee game was such a big game because we couldn't afford to start 0-3. So we kind of spent a lot of time that week looking at Lee, looking what they had done, watching video and preparing as best we could, and kind of felt like maybe our game plan worked very well. The guys, implemented it very well. It comes down obviously more to them doing the job, and they did. I felt like at the end of the day they wanted it a little more than Lee. Lee's a very talented team, and I expect them to probably be there at the end of it. But I think our guys that day kind of showed up, and as the game went on, we got better. That's what you can ask for as a coach, is we were better at the end of the game than we were at the start of the game, and we were. So the guys put in a very good performance on Friday, and then, very quickly had to bounce back and come back and play on the road at Shorter, which is never easy because field conditions are tough. It's a narrow field. So there's a lot to kind of accomplish, and I felt like on the weekend, the guys, our goal was trying to get 6 points. They did that, and against some quality opponents on the road. So we're kind of back going the direction we want to go as we get ready for this weekend.
And as you mentioned this weekend, y'all got two more big GSC matchups, Alabama-Huntsville on Friday, West Alabama on Sunday. And I know the West Alabama game is always kind of a big kind of rivalry matchup. But can you just talk about this weekend and what y'all need to do to get two more wins this weekend?
The biggest thing is, since we play Huntsville first as a team, I think all we've really focused on for the last 2 or 3 days is just Huntsville. So we'll have a lot of short turnaround time to worry about at West Alabama, but all we're really taking consideration is what we need to do to be as best we can against Huntsville, and we know obviously that'll be a tough game, but looking at them and trying to look at our team and how we feel like we should set up against them to be prepared as best we can to get a result in that game. And then on Saturday we'll have to spend time as a staff and preparing as much as we can for West Al. So that's always a little tougher because you have less turnaround time. But I think the guys will be prepared. I think they're obviously buzzing. They're excited to be back home, coming off of two big wins. We're just going to kind of look at only Friday being the most important one, get through it, and hopefully kind of come on the right side of it. And then we'll have to worry about Sunday's game on Saturday and do as much as we can as a staff to prepare them as much as we can in that short time before we play West Al.
So, just looking at your squad as a whole, you had a lot of seniors last year and a lot of newcomers this year. I think it's right around 25 players that weren't on the squad last year that are coming in this year. Some of them came in January, some of them in August. So what has that been like as a coach, just trying to get so many new players in? I know Felix has had a really good start of the year. He's won 2 Freshmen of the Week, but then a lot of other newcomers kind of factoring in from Nico to Jorge to others. So just what has that been like having so many new players, and just what have you seen from some of those guys coming into the system?
Well, as a staff, probably the best thing was when you graduate 18, 19 kids, it does allow us as a staff maybe to kind of hit the reset button and kind of focus on what we think best as a program and as a culture perspective, to maybe kind of rehash some new stuff and do some new things, and it's trying to get those guys to buy into that. And so there's going to be some bumps along the road, not just results, but just some things here and there. We have to try to force guys to kind of make sure they understand that they're a part of a program and a part of some kind of ideas of what we want to implement in the program and a culture of a successful program, hopefully. And so obviously that's probably been the biggest thing, just making those guys understand that. And the learning curve has been pretty quick for these guys. Like you said, when you have 23 to 25 new players and you're relying on I think the first game of the season we looked at it, I think we only started actually one new kid from our spring games, and then at Lee, over half of our roster was actually new kids. So again, I feel like some of that is these guys are starting to understand what we want out of them, and as we're going on, some of those guys that are starting to grasp it a little more are kind of going up the pecking order, maybe of talent level, and what we want our program to do on the field, as the game goes on. So, and I think they're understanding that, what we're expecting of them, and maybe with some of what the returning players are expecting of them. And so that's why I think you're starting to see more of the new guys kind of putting their stamp on the program a little bit, maybe even earlier than we thought. So we knew there'd be some bumps in the road, again, but I do think they're grasping it probably even maybe a little quicker than we thought, and it's a very talented team. That's probably the one thing about this team more than even last year is there's a lot of depth. I mean, there's a lot of guys. We have quite a few rotations. Sometimes that's hard as a coach because you got to keep the kids happy, and not all of them can play. But our idea is hopefully they'll buy in to what we're trying to accomplish, and hopefully as they'll understand that the program's most important and the team's most important in this concept, and as we keep moving forward, if they'll buy into that, I think with the depth we have, we can be really good. Especially hopefully by the end of the year, we'll be even better than we are right now. Once these guys keep kind of understanding what we're wanting out of them to do as we keep moving forward.
And so just looking at the season as a whole, the last couple of years, not counting the COVID year where there was no, NCAA postseason, last couple of years y'all kind of been right there but couldn't quite get over the hump and into the NCAA tournament. So what do you think y'all need to do this season? And I know that's far away, but to be able to perform in the conference tournament and then into
really, obviously, the easiest thing is it's not the easiest, but the simplest way to get in the NCAAs is to win your conference tournament, because that obviously gives you an automatic berth. The way our region is set up, the super region and stuff like that, it's outside of that. You got to hope for a lot to happen. I mean, we would probably maybe be only able to lose one more game the rest of the way to even have a chance to maybe get one of those automatic berths if you don't win your tournament. So it's tough. I mean, because there's so many quality teams in our region. Obviously, the Sunshine Conference is one of the top conferences in the country, and they used to be in our region before we became a super region. So it's always tough. I mean, you can just look at our regional rankings, and I mean, I think 2/3 of it comes from the Sunshine Conference. So I mean, we probably more worry about what we want to kind of control, and that's the day-to-day games that's coming up, and just focus on them. And if we can continue to win those, then I think you put everything in your own hands as far as the conference tournament, stuff like that. Our goal is to try to get to the conference tournament and be playing as well as we can be playing to hopefully have a chance, because I feel like this conference is one that any one of the top 5, 6 teams can, if they go on a good run, can win the conference tournament. Outside of that, maybe there'll be one team in our conference that might get at large bid. So could we fight for that? Maybe, but I think the best thing to do is to obviously be prepared as much as you can for the conference tournament. And if you can win that, then you'll get an automatic berth. So.
Thank you, Coach, for joining us. And again, this weekend on Friday and Sunday, the Choctaws will take on Alabama Huntsville and West Alabama. Both those games slated to start at around 3:30 p.m. Thank you, Coach, for joining us. And
thank you.
See you next time.